What I'd like you to do now is walk us through a process of an actual ethical decision that you had to make in your work as a student teacher this year.
Absolutely. I'll walk you through two decisions, one in which I had plenty of time to make a choice and weigh different options, and then I'll walk you through a second decision in which it was in the middle of class and I had to act quickly. The first decision happened after teaching a unit on direct objects and verbs. So I was working with 6th grade classroom, and I have 30 students, and they range all over the place in cognitive levels, developmental levels, and ability level. They were struggling, many of them, with recognizing when an action verb relates to a direct object. And I could understand that because it is tricky. And after 3 days of practicing that, I would say 75% of the class got it. So we did a final review, and then I had about 5 students left out of that 30 who just could not grasp this concept. They had trouble defining and applying the concept. So I went home that night and had to decide, do I reteach to benefit those 5, or do I test and move on to benefit the 25?
And how do you see that as a moral dilemma or as an ethical dilemma, Katie?
I see that as a huge ethical dilemma in deciding the goods of the many or the goods of the few, and who gets priority in that case. So my decision, I had to think about different voices and what they would tell me. I had to think about parents of those 5 who would say, my child didn't understand this, why would you test them? I had to think about administrators who would say, you're wasting time, you have more standards to cover, you got to keep going. You taught for 3 days, it's time to move on. I had to think about those 25 who are going to get bored if we kept harping over the same thing. And then I might have classroom management problems if students aren't engaged in their work. So I made the decision I was going to test and move on. And I could sleep at night with that decision, knowing that the majority of my class was comfortable with the material, and that those 5 had 3 days of instruction. And in those 3 days, they learned something. Even if it wasn't solid, for them to ace a test, I know they learned something, so I could move on from there.
Nice job of laying that out, Katie.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to my second decision. So I'm in the middle of class, also with the same group, 6th grade. And 6th grade is this fun age where they're starting to mature, but they're not quite there yet. So they can be very needy in a way that they always want the teacher's attention. They're sometimes up in your face about it. So I'm teaching a lesson, and it's quiet work time, and I'm helping a student. I turn around, and all of a sudden there's 5 of them in my face. They're, Miss Anderson, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me with this? So I have to decide whether to help those 5 in front of me while I have 25 students working, but I also have this list, and I've been checking people off, people I know need help, and people I had intended on meeting with that day. So I had to make this snap decision. What do? I have 5 students in front of me, I have 25 down, and I have 5 on my list that I know I need to see because they may not be comfortable asking for help, but I know they need it. So I had to make a decision at the moment, and I chose to say, stop, you are overwhelming me, you need to sit down. And then I took a minute to breathe, and I said, I will help those of you who really need the help right now. You need to be patient with me. There's 1 of me and 30 of you, and I will get to as many of you as I can today, and we'll work on this tomorrow too. And I can definitely sleep at night knowing I made a good decision because I was balancing the needs of the many and making sure that the needs of the few that I really needed to see were met. I created a quiet workspace for the many, and I helped the few who really needed it.